Hello, everyone. We are going to get started in about 4 minutes, just a little bit under 4 minutes. So I just wanted to encourage you to try to come in, find your seat. And there are some ladies walking around the auditorium with the handout for the session. So if you don't have a handout, wave your hand. They will find you. So we're going to get started in like 3.5 minutes.
His eyes ablaze with holy flames. Behold the coming King, the name above all names. His word alive, pure and divine. And when he speaks, there's nothing anyone could say.
Well, hello again, everyone. Are you having a good morning? Yes. Me too. Me too. My name's Tammy, and I am so excited and honored to be able to introduce to you Sarah Chapman. Sarah is a wife of almost 10 years. She's a mom of 2 adorable little girls who happen to be my granddaughters. Greta is 4, and Edie is 1. Sarah is a faithful disciple of Jesus, and she's an amazing writer. In 2024, she published a book called Dream On, which is about the importance of cultivating your God-given dreams in the middle of your everyday life. Sarah loves to dream with God and bring those dreams to fruition, whether that's through writing a book or hosting weekly community nights with her friends. She is fascinated by Jesus and his example of being human. She wants to experience every ounce of the full life he has for her. She's passionate about God's beauty, honest and imperfect faith, creativity, everyday hospitality, and building community. She writes about these topics regularly at sarahchapman.substack.com. And you can also connect with her on Instagram. So that's Sarah's official bio. But as her mother-in-law, I'd love to tell you some of the things that I love about her. First of all, Sarah she's an amazing addition to our family. I couldn't ask for a better wife for my my son.
That would be weird.
Okay. Oh. We're a very close family. So.
Really close.
Now, her nerves can just go away now because I just stepped into that. I stepped into that. Okay.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So honestly, I couldn't ask for a better wife for my son. And Sarah, she is seriously an incredible mom. She's a blessing to our whole family. She's a blessing to her family. And actually, she's a blessing to everyone who knows her. And I'm not just saying that. She really is. She is such a quality individual, inside and out. And no matter what she's doing, her priority is people. She sees them and she cares for them. And she's always helping people, but you'd never know that. But she just does it. And it doesn't matter if it's family members, or if it's friends, or if it's just complete strangers. She gives of herself freely and abundantly. If you follow her on Instagram or read her Substack articles, you will also see that she has incredible insight into life and into people. And that really comes from her relationship with God. She just loves Jesus, and she faithfully pursues him in the cracks and crevices of her life. And she just sees people in the world the way Jesus does. And you're about to hear some more of that this morning. So I'm excited for you to have this time with Sarah today. You're going to find that she's compassionate, she's kind, she's authentic, she's brave, and she is super fun. So let me pray for you, Sarah, and just for all of us. Jesus, thank you that you are just so faithful and so good. And you are in this space right here with all of us. So I just ask your blessing right now just to come upon Sarah, that she would just know deep in her bones you are with her here, and that we would know that too, Jesus. So come and move in our midst, Holy Spirit. Just do a work in us. We love you, and we give you this time. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you. I have to just say, I'm a mom because I just heard a baby squeal or something, whether it was in here or out there, and I was like, is that mine? I need to go help her. But they're not here, so. Okay, now we're going to start with the real thing I have written down. I really want to start this breakout session off by asking you to tell me if this sounds familiar. You've had this idea in the back of your mind, maybe a stirring in your heart, or just kind of like an inkling. And maybe you've never told anybody about it, but you've been pushing it off for days or weeks or months or most likely years for a whole number of reasons. Maybe you've always dreamed of hosting people regularly in your home. You've seen the statistics. We're living in one of the most lonely generations. And you've also read about the early church in Acts, how they met together daily in their homes, how they worshiped God, and they ate food together, and they just enjoyed real friendship. And you're like, wait, we could do that now. But then you remember, your home doesn't look like a Magnolia magazine, at all. And not only that, but you have 2 dining room chairs, so you don't even know where anyone would sit, and your backyard's kind of a sorry excuse for a backyard, so that couldn't really be used either. And so then you just think, you know what, maybe someday when we save up enough money to buy a home that's larger and more beautiful and more conducive to hosting, then we'll be able to invite people in. But for now, we kind of just have to wait on that. We'll maybe have to wait 10 or 15 years till we can get a better home. Or maybe the inkling in the back of your head is a really good business idea. And you could use your passions and skills for the good of others, you could really serve others, and you could come alive in it. And you've even already done some market research. You've seen this could actually work in this segment of the market. My area needs this, or this type of person needs this. But between your full-time job and your regular traveling and your church involvement, you just don't have the time and energy to pour into starting a business on the side. And you feel overwhelmed because it would also require a lot of learning, you don't even know how to do that, and you just don't feel qualified, and you don't feel ready. Maybe you have a different dream, and whether it's big or small, it kind of silently gnaws at you in the back of your mind. You don't talk about it much, but it's kind of always there. Maybe you've always dreamed of growing a backyard garden, but your yard is small and you've killed everything you've already tried to plant. Or maybe you've always wanted to do something impactful for single moms or people struggling with addiction or people who are far from God. But the problems feel so big it's hard to know where to start, so you just don't start. You've never started. Maybe you want to play music like you used to in high school or college, but your guitar has been in the closet collecting dust as you're fulfilling your other dream of being a full-time mom to little kids. Maybe you've wanted to learn to sew or paint or do graphic design or woodworking. Maybe you've dreamed of running for local political office and impacting your community. Maybe you've dreamed of going back to school and switching careers, trying something completely different. But life is hard and busy, and it's already overwhelming. You have people to care for, lots of people to care for, and responsibilities to steward, lots of responsibilities. And you just don't know how you would ever do something like that. And I think many of us, especially as Christian women, tend to feel this same way. Because we feel renewed by Christ, and we have this fresh vision and zeal for life. Like we see God's kingdom expanding all around us, and we're like, I want to be part of that. But at the same time, we're also in a quest to be humble and selfless and to glorify God with everything we do. And we tend to think a lot of times that this means putting those dreams on the back burner. We think they're too difficult, too time-consuming, or just too unimportant or even selfish to pursue with everything else we have. For me, one of those inklings in the back of my mind, one of the dreams that I've had since I was a little girl, is that I've wanted to write and I've wanted to speak about God. And I even remember in my childhood bedroom, I was probably about 10, but I wrote on a note card and I kept it next to my bed that I wanted to write books someday and I wanted to speak to people about God. But that was when I was 10, and I was really excited about that. And now I'm 28, and I'm also a full-time mom to 2 little girls. They're 1 and 4. And if you're a mom, you know this. Human beings require a lot. And it's kind of backwards because the littler they are, the more they require. Like my 1-year-old requires a lot of me right now. Like almost every part of my being is engaged in mothering my children. And I love that. That's my dream too. It's just hard when you have other dreams. So for the first couple of years, my oldest daughter, Greta's life, I thought, I think I'm just gonna have to table my dreams for now. I'm gonna have to just focus on this one. I think I'll need to wait till my kids are older, till they're in full-time school, or even like 18 years down the road till they're out of the house, and then I can focus on those other things. But God has done a lot of work in me over the past several years, and He's helped me understand better than ever before the eternal significance of the dreams in my heart. And it's through talking with Him that I've been able to sort out genuine wisdom of when to actually wait on a dream, when that's actually wise, versus when I'm just starting to make my own excuses when He's actually told me to go, to start now. And when my oldest daughter was 2, I felt Him say, go. He said, you've been gathering up ideas in your mind for years, and now it's time to start writing your first book. And it was intimidating, and it was difficult, and I was really learning as I went. But in 2024, I published my first book called Dream On, The Art of Cultivating Your Dreams in Everyday Life. Thank you. And it's about this tension that I was living in of wanting to steward my everyday responsibilities well and also cultivate some other dreams in my heart. And God really had to replace a bunch of lies in my mind about who I was and what I could do with Him, about truths about what we could do together. And I had to actually go through the trial and error of actually doing it in real life because I wrote the book in the middle of mothering my 2-year-old and being pregnant with my second daughter. It was a really hard pregnancy. And learning this dance of following God into the things He's called me to in each season is still and will forever be an ongoing process. It's always messy, it's always frustrating, it's always imperfect. But I've learned that dreaming with God is so beautiful that I actually wouldn't trade it for any amount of ease or comfort. Like it actually feels like what I was made for. So now I can't really go back to doing anything else. So in this session today, I want to try and pass on what I've learned to you. And we're going to have 2 parts to this session. Part 1 is about why your dreams matter. Part 2 is about how to cultivate them in everyday life. Part 1 is going to be more inspirational and theological, so it's kind of be a theology of dreaming with God. We're going to look at the Bible and see where dreaming shows up. Part 2 is going to be more practical, so it's going to be filled with tangible tips and real-life stories. We're going to get more into how do I actually do that. But the main thing that this talk is an invitation. It's intended for women who have been searching for permission, who have been asking questions like, does this dream even matter? Is it possible? Is it supposed to feel this hard? How could I ever do this? Should somebody else do this? And should I be doing this? Should I be spending my time on this when I have so much else going on? And I hope that by the end of this talk, you'll feel a fresh sense of calling, like a freedom to explore desires and passions for the good of others and the glory of God with the God who created every part of you, including your dreams. He created your dreams. And really quick, I just want to give an important disclaimer. I know some of you may be hearing me talk about like cultivating your dreams. And honestly, it sounds kind of tone deaf in the world that we're living in right now. Maybe even really tone deaf. With everything that's happening politically and socially and racially in our world, and with everything that's probably happening in your own life, mental health struggles and family conflicts and caregiving and scary diagnoses, cultivating dreams like drawing or playing guitar or growing a garden might feel at best like the wrong thing to focus on, and at worst, even morally wrong, like something only people with privilege can do if they don't care about anything else important. But can I offer a different viewpoint? What if dreaming with God could actually be the remedy for all of those horrible things in our world and our lives? What if the state that we're in right now, we're in that state because we have forgotten our humanity? We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten who we were made to be. That we were made to glorify God and love others and create beauty that declares his glory wherever we go. What if Christians dreaming with God is what the watching world and even what our own tired souls needs to see right now and experience? So I really don't think this is frivolous. I think it's actually really, really important and it matters deeply. Okay, with that said, are you ready to get into part 1? Okay, we're going into why dream. Open your Bibles, if you have them, to Genesis 1. We're going to start in verse 26. We're going to read Genesis 1, 26 through 28. And here's what I'm about to do as you get out your Bibles. I'm going to try and spend the next few minutes convincing you that your dreams, big or small, whether you want to homeschool your kids or make pottery or run for president, are of eternal significance. Okay? Let's start in verse 26. It says, "Then God said, 'Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground.' So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, 'Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground.'" So in church, we talk a lot about how we were made in God's image, right? We've kind of heard this a lot. And one of the implications of that is that because we have God's very breath in us, each of us is of eternal value and worth. We each matter to God, right? This is one of the foundational principles of Christianity. But being made in the image of God also means that in some ways we are like God, images of God. We have many characteristics that are similar to God, but I want to focus on 2 in particular. So what do we know about God just from this first chapter of Scripture, Genesis 1? We can identify quite a few things, but I think there are 2 that are really important for our own identities. Number 1, we know that God is a creator. He seems to have created everything, right, according to this story. And 2, we know he's a ruler. He seems to function as the authority over everything that he's created. Now let's zoom in on that first verse, verse 26. So if you've ever wondered what the purpose of humanity is, if you have like a stack of self-help books at home that's like, what is my purpose? You can throw all those away. I'm just kidding. But really, like it's kind of right here in this verse. It says, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky, over the livestock and the wild animals, over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created humans to be co-rulers with him. He gives the first humans charge over the garden of all of creation and tells them to cultivate it. So before the fall even happens, right, he gave us good and meaningful work to do. We actually weren't made to just relax in the garden all day. We had work to do. God also never wanted slaves who just robotically worship him with no emotion or just do the hard work he doesn't want to do. He has always wanted from the very beginning co-rulers, co-creators, friends, partners. We were made to worship him, yes, but we were also made to partner with him. His vision all along is that humans would take what he's created, the raw materials of this world, and turn it into something more, that we would work together with him. We see this in Genesis 2:19 when God gives creative control to Adam and lets him name the animals. Like, have you ever thought about how cool that is? He presents Adam all the animals and lets him name them, and then God just says, okay, that's their name. From the beginning, God wanted us to dream with him to create something. He wanted us to create culture and civilization and architecture and music and art and business and technology and science. But sadly, we know the next part of the story. Humanity rebels and says, I think God might be holding out on us. And we decide we want to be our own rulers, and we trust ourselves more than we trust God. If we skip forward a bit to Genesis 11, we see that humans use their God-given capacity to dream to build a tower, the Tower of Babel. And they do this to make a name for themselves instead of creating something that glorifies the ultimate creator. So they use their creative abilities, their ability to dream up something that God never intended. This wasn't how they were supposed to use this capability. If we skip forward a little more to 1 Samuel 8, we see that instead of fulfilling their role as co-rulers under God as their perfect king, the Israelites reject God as king and ask instead for a human king. And we know that every one of those kings ends up failing, usually in a gloriously horrible way. But thank God, the story doesn't stop there. Let's fast forward to the future, spelled out in the book of Revelation. Spoiler alert, God makes all things right again. In his kindness, he restores to the ones who choose him a relationship with him. And not only that, but he restores our relationship with everyone around us, our fellow human beings, and also with the created world. Sin is eradicated. God's will always happens. God is king, and there is no other king. It was just as it was meant from the beginning. Only this time, we're not living in a garden called Eden. We are living in a city, in the New Jerusalem. A city. This is where we will live with God in perfect peace. A bustling, thriving, quote, garden-like city, as John Mark Comer calls it. This garden-like city resembles Eden. It has a river and the tree of life, but it's also more. It has gates and walls and golden streets. It's God's work and our work combined. So what does this mean for us now? Do we kind of just sigh and wait around, hoping the return of Jesus is coming soon and we'll get to live in the New Jerusalem in some distant future? Absolutely not. Jesus made it abundantly clear during his time on earth that God's kingdom is not just a future reality, but one that we can live in now. Jesus' death and resurrection ushered in his kingship once more, and if we are willing, he wants to restore to us our rightful identity as co-rulers and co-creators with him. Let's turn now to the New Testament. We're going to look at Ephesians 2:10. Ephesians 2:10 says this, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." New Testament scholar N.T. Wright interprets this verse in a fascinating way that I really love. He says that the good works Paul is talking about here in this verse aren't just moral works, as in like, now that I've found Jesus, I'm going to behave ethically now. I'm going to do the right thing. But that Paul actually is referencing everything we were supposed to do all along as co-rulers. So things like create art and music and architecture and marriage and food and beautiful family rhythms. I wonder if the kinds of lives we lead show the watching, hurting world what life looks like in God's kingdom, what it was supposed to look like in the garden, and what it will eventually look like in the New Jerusalem once God sets everything right. Because in Jesus, God didn't just save us from death, he saved us for life, the life that we were always meant to live. N.T. Wright, again, in his book Surprised by Hope, writes about it so beautifully like this. "The point of the resurrection is that the present bodily life is not valueless just because it will die. What you do with your body in the present matters because God has a great future in store for it. What you do in the present by painting, preaching, singing, sewing, praying, teaching, building hospitals, digging wells, campaigning for justice, writing poems, caring for the needy, loving your neighbor as yourself will last into God's future. These activities are not simply ways of making the present life a little less beastly, a little more bearable until the day when we leave it behind altogether, as the hymn so mistakenly puts it. They are part of what we may call building for God's kingdom. So works that we were supposed to do all along as human beings, works that we were created for, dreams that we were supposed to dream, can now be restored in Christ to go out and renew the whole world. That's what this is. We're called to partner and to co-create with him once again. We know our salvation is from Christ alone, right? It's not as a result of our good works. We know that. We could never earn it. But here's the thing. If you are somebody who's truly brimming with resurrection life because of the love and healing and deep relationship you found in Jesus, you are going to have a really hard time reining that resurrection life in. It is going to spill out of you if you let it. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in a place where I feel particularly connected to God, particularly sensitive to what he's doing around me, what he's saying to me, I kind of can't help but pour resurrection life out of me wherever I go. My mind feels full of dreams when I'm feeling close to God, big ones and small ones of how I can bring resurrection life into every corner of my world. So I'll think things like, I should grow a vegetable garden. I should start a book club with my kids. I should sing on the worship team. I should spend my Thursday nights at the food bank. You have all these ideas of how we can bring restoration everywhere in small ways. The kingdom of God has the tendency to forcefully advance, and we're invited to be part of it. So here's a lie I want to get out of the way and replace with truth for us as Christian women. Your dreams are not selfish. They are a result of Jesus' transforming work in and through you. Your dreams, big and small, actually matter, and they are worth pursuing. Not only that, but I actually think that we have a responsibility as kingdom women to cultivate the dreams God has put on our heart and given us the grace and capacity for. But here's the hard part. Because it's easy to think of ideas in our minds, right? It's easy to have these vague, inspiring dreams of bringing resurrection wherever we go, and then never actually doing anything about it. It's really easy to live that way. It's super simple, super safe to just kind of keep your dreams in your mind and never do anything. And I think a lot of us, myself included, are probably living that way in multiple areas of our lives right now. But it is not the fullness of the resurrection life we were born into through Christ. We were not made to just keep our dreams safe inside of our minds, not to just go through the motions and survive our lives, just try and get through, but to give our God-given dreams form and shape in the real world, to let them touch our friends and our families and our communities, to experience failure and risk and surrender and success and celebration. So right now as kingdom women, we need to make a decision, all of us individually, that although the idealism of bringing God's kingdom wherever we go is inspiring and beautiful, and we need to start there, we're not going to stop there. We're going to, through God's wisdom and strength, drag the perfect ideas we have in our mind. They're held safe there. We're going to drag them out into an unsafe, dangerous world, an imperfect world, and trust that God will bring life to them. This is risky. Thank you. Yeah, it's good. This is risky, but it's worth it. So let's go. We're moving on to part 2. How do we cultivate our dreams in everyday life? How do we actually make this decision to say, okay, I'm going to take these big dreams that I have in my mind. I know I want to be part of bringing Christ's resurrection life wherever I go. How do I actually do that in my real life? Because if I don't have steps, I'm never going to do it, right? So here's the first thing I want to clarify real quick before we dive into some practical advice. This breakout session is titled Dreaming with God, How to Cultivate Your God-Given Passions in Everyday Life. And that word cultivate is really important, and it's intentional, because it signifies the very specific way that I think we as kingdom women are called to live out our dreams. Cultivate is garden imagery. The process of cultivating something is slow. It's imperfect. There are setbacks. It's just as much about the process as it is about the product. Cultivation means that this will take patience, it will take fortitude. We are in this for the long haul. But this should come as good news for many of us that we have the freedom to go about our dreams in this way, because most of us already have a million responsibilities we're juggling, right? We have jobs, we have school, we have families we're in charge of, we have church communities we're committed to, and all these things matter because they're actually our dreams too. So we can't really afford, though, on the side to chase our dreams. Like, even pursuing them sounds a little intense. It sounds like something we couldn't handle right now. So I think if we can start to see our dreams as something that we don't have to chase, we don't have to hustle toward, we don't have to immediately perfect, but that we can just cultivate slowly, I think we'll feel some freedom to start. Okay, now that we've laid the groundwork with that definition, we're going to take our first step. Our first step toward cultivating our dreams is going to be we are going to surrender. So now is probably a good time to reveal to you that cultivating your dreams in the middle of everyday life is actually not easy, usually at all. In the past few weeks, leading up to leading this breakout session, which, by the way, is my first experience speaking on a stage at this scale, thank you. I have really struggled. Like I said, I'm a full-time mom to 2 little kids. They're 1 and 4, so they still require a lot, and I'm with them all day. So I had carefully mapped out in my schedule when I was going to write this talk and practice for it, and I thought of all the little nooks and crannies of my day when I could work, and my plan blew up every day I made one. It was like almost comical. The baby didn't nap. I forgot there was no preschool on Monday. My family got a stomach bug. Josiah was on call for work for a week, and he had to work a lot longer hours. And I remember it was Monday morning 3 weeks ago. I'm in such a different place, thank God. It was Monday morning 3 weeks ago, and my sister had offered to take the kids for a couple hours so I could hopefully finish writing the first draft of this. But the baby woke up at 5 a.m., and it was the weekend after we all had the stomach flu, and I got impatient with my 4-year-old as I was trying to get her dressed. And by 10 a.m., it was only 10 a.m., by 10 a.m., when I dropped the kids off at my sister's house to go work on this, like to go focus, I was already done. Like I had nothing left. And I literally told God as I drove the girls, I was like, I have nothing. Like I have no inspiration. I have no motivation. I have no energy. I have no excitement. Like in this moment, even though I've been so excited to go talk to women about cultivating their dreams, I just really don't want to cultivate mine. Like this is hard. This is really hard. But I said to God, I feel like you've called me to do this in this season. Like, I feel like this is actually something you want me to carry right now. So I am literally just doing this, not out of excitement, not out of passion, but just to be obedient. And I felt like he said, great, that's exactly where I needed to be today. And I was like, okay, I'm so glad you think that. But in that moment, I remembered a really important truth, and it's that if I'm motivated toward my dreams by anything other than obedience to God, if I'm motivated by perfect outcomes or a perfect process or my ego or exactly how my dream will affect other people, it will be really easy for me to fall prey to lies and fear and overwhelm and exhaustion that stop me from even starting. There have been so many times in my life when a dream has failed or people didn't understand it or it took longer than I thought or I felt embarrassed by it or when it just didn't come to fruition in the way that I thought it would. And the temptation in those moments, and what I've done in some of those moments, is just give up. Because if my main motive for fulfilling a dream is a perfect outcome or a specific timeline or to look super cool to others, and that doesn't happen, then I'll probably just give up when things get hard or I'm disappointed by failure or embarrassment or imperfection. But if my main motive is simply obedience to God, then I can keep going and keep trusting Him despite the outcome, despite what happens. Once we surrender things like our ego, how we're going to look to others, and the outcomes, exactly how this is going to affect people and exactly how it's going to turn out, and our craving for perfection and for praise, and just take responsibility for the obedience, we are free. Our identity isn't in the dream, it's in Him. And doing this with God in obedience to Him, this is what I was made for. I wasn't made to do this perfectly. I was made to do this with Him. So I want you to catch a really vital factor here about this step, and it's that in order to be obedient with God, we need to be in regular communication with God. So in order to be obedient to what he's saying to me, I actually need to stop and listen long enough to hear what he's saying to me. I need to listen first, and then I can do what he's saying. So if you're here and you're feeling confused or discouraged with your dreams right now, the first dream I would focus on if I were you is just getting back in regular communication with God. So create a simple routine you can come back to. Decide on a time to talk with him, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, whether it's your commute to work or as you're rocking the baby to sleep for 10 minutes, or if you're sitting in the school pickup line. Turn on some worship music, thank God for who he is, and just ask him where he's leading you. Confess your fears and surrender them to him, and ask him to overcome the fear with his love, and to ask him to help you walk in obedience. It's super simple. And then just listen and see if you have an impression in your mind of what his response might be. And let him love you and guide you into what you're supposed to do next. Okay, we've surrendered inadequate motives. We're not going to be led by outcomes or ego or perfection. We're going to be led by obedience to God. Now we're going to get really practical. It's time to simplify. Right now, I'm standing up here on stage with the lights, and there was music, and there's beautiful decorations, and there's perfect decorations in the lobby, and all of it looks pretty glamorous, right? So you would never know what it looked like as I wrote this message unless I showed you some pictures. There they are. So my no makeup me laying in my bed, trying to do it while the baby cried downstairs, and she was going, Mom, 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 Mom. She was with her dad. She wasn't alone, but she likes me better, you know. And I was editing this talk while I was getting my hair done. So like my hairstylist is trying to talk to me, but I'm trying to also edit this. And then I did a little bit while my preschooler watched Arthur. You see that one picture that's really dark. I was literally typing this talk one-handed on my phone because the baby wouldn't go to sleep without nursing. So I was just sitting with her and typing it in the dark. So it's not glamorous, okay? So I can't even go to the bathroom by myself right now, let alone go to like some Pinterest-worthy writing cabin for 3 days and write this talk, you know? Like, I had to do it in the middle of my everyday life, like in my robe and late at night, early in the morning, while the kids were crying. And man, okay, this is a stretching way to cultivate your dreams, all right? It's hard. I've definitely thought about how it would be if this was easier. Like if I just had a single day, like a full day, to like write uninterrupted and to think and to really dream with God. Like that just sounds amazing, right? And for years, this unmet desire for a perfect scenario to cultivate dreams paralyzed me. It was like I couldn't start because things weren't perfect. I was never ready. The kids were always there. You know, there's always something that stops you, right? Does this sound familiar to you at all? Like, okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone because I feel crazy sometimes. But we say things like, you know, once my kids are grown up and out of the house, I'll finally have time to pull my paintbrushes off the shelf. Or if I only had money to buy cute workout clothes, then I'd exercise regularly. Or if I had a bigger dining space and a prettier kitchen, I'd finally be able to have my neighbors over for dinner, but for now I just can't. We all wish we had more time and more energy and more inspiration and more resources to pour into our dreams. But something really cool that I've learned about God is that he really likes to come through when we embrace what we lack. I think sometimes it can be easy for us to look down at what we have and say, this is really not enough, and completely discount what God can do and has done with not enough. When we turn to him with our loaves and fish that are absolutely not enough, and we say, this is all I have, but I'm giving it up to you. And then Jesus says to us, like he says to the disciples in Matthew 14:18, just bring them here to me. He just says, bring them here. What are the loaves and fishes you have to offer? What could you offer up to God that's not enough and trust him to multiply? For example, if you dream of creating art, could you spend 20 minutes after your kids go to bed practicing one sketch a night? It doesn't seem like a lot. You wish that you had a full artist studio that you could spend a whole day in, but you don't. So how can you start small, one sketch a night? Or another one, if you dream of homesteading, but right now you live in a small apartment with no backyard, could you start small? Could you learn how to bake bread or grow herbs in your windowsill? If you dream of starting a graphic design business, but you're a single mom of little kids who doesn't have an ounce of uninterrupted time for a client meeting, can you regularly schedule a time where your friend babysits the kids in exchange for lunch for an hour? Or if you're like me and you dream of hosting people regularly in your home, can you take the pressure off yourself to cook a perfect meal for everyone and just host more potlucks? Once I discovered that I could host potlucks, that was like the most freeing thing in hosting. It's so relaxed. So do you see what I'm doing here, right? We're breaking down these big dreams, and we're breaking them down into small steps. And I don't know if you noticed, but in a lot of these examples, you need to do these small steps anyway at first, so you might as well start them now so you'll feel ahead later. Because if you wait till things are perfect later, and that time might not even come, but if it did, and things were perfect later, you would still have to take these small steps. But if you take them now, you'll actually feel ahead. So God has given you your dreams and your life, so clearly He's designed these things to go together somehow. And maybe you can't see how they go together right now, but then that's just a great time to pray and ask Him, like, how do I make these things go together? How do I steward all of these responsibilities at the same time without kind of going past my capacity or doing something that you don't want me to live in a way where I'm just exhausted all the time? But He's waiting to meet you right where you're at, as you rock the baby to sleep, as you commute to work, as you take your evening run. These random 20 minutes of our day actually aren't just meaningless time that we might as well spend scrolling on Instagram, right? I think that's a lot of times when I have a chunk of 20 minutes, I'm like, Instagram, that's where you go, right? But then I wrote a whole book in little chunks of time, and I realized, like, wow, I actually have a lot more time than I thought. I was just wasting it. And so if you'll offer it up to Him, if you'll be willing to surrender that and simplify your expectations, He is ready to take the small number of loaves and fish you have, whether it's time or finances or energy, and turn it into something that will feed not only you, but everyone around you. Okay, so we have surrendered unhealthy motivations and replaced them with a heart of obedience. We've committed to simplifying our expectations, offering what we have to God, and trusting that He'll multiply it. Now, it's time to learn the art of intentional sacrifice. And I know many of you flinched when I even said that word, sacrifice. Because we are Christian women, for goodness sakes. We have been told that we can and should do it all. We have to be perfect moms and perfect wives and perfect church volunteers and perfect employees and perfect homemakers and do it all without grumbling and complaining. We have to let all the plates spin and grab another one and impress everybody around us by how much we can hold at once and not drop anything. And we're kind of all twitching in exhaustion as we even talk about it. But remember, we are not doing this to look impressive. We are trying to be obedient. That's it. We are trying to embrace more of the full life Jesus calls us to. But we are not God. We are limited. We all only have 24 hours in our day. And so if we want to add in to our already busy schedules the cultivation of a new dream, there are some things that are going to have to get dialed back. Some things we're going to have to sacrifice. Some things we're going to have to switch around. And this is actually okay and normal. I know a lot of us get worried about this. But everything meaningful in life requires some degree of sacrifice. So let's get practical. We're going to start with the easy stuff. We're going to start with sacrificing unhealthy habits, or stuff that shouldn't even be in our days anyway, but it's kind of snuck its way in there. And for me, when I actually took inventory of how I spent my time, I realized that excessive scrolling on social media was eating up so much more of my day than I thought. And it was also eating at my emotional and mental capacity in a way that I didn't even fully realize until I set really clear boundaries. And so maybe it's not just about adding more to our already exhausting lives, because that wouldn't work. We would just be more exhausted. Maybe we need to replace these okay or unhealthy things with better things that will actually help us feel awake and alive. So what's an unhealthy habit for you that takes up valuable time in your short 24-hour day? Is it scrolling on social media like for me, or is it excessive Netflix binging? What are you already kind of like, yeah, I'd probably be better without that anyway? And then think about an action step you can take to replace some of that time with intentional time to cultivate your dreams. For example, just set a limit on your phone to block your social media apps after 7 p.m., and then take your baby steps towards your dreams from 7 to 8 p.m. most days or a couple days a week, and just use that time and see what God can do with that small amount of time that you give him. Okay, so maybe it's easy to sacrifice unhealthy habits that we knew we needed to kick anyway. But what about sacrificing parts of good things? This is, I think, the scary part for a lot of us as Christian women, because we really want to steward everything we've been given well. And I think that we can probably relate to horror stories of people sacrificing too much for their dreams. We've seen people, or experienced it ourselves, made this mistake ourselves of sacrificing the well-being of our children, or our marriages, or our own health, or our finances on the altar of our dreams. We get so lost in the hustle that we forget what was most important. We are really afraid of that. At least I'm really afraid of that. So our default inclination when we hear stories like this is to never sacrifice any parts of these good things in our lives, because we think that a good Christian woman would never sacrifice a little time with her kids or money or involvement in 42 Bible studies at once just to try to cultivate a new dream. It's just not worth it, because we don't want to slip into that danger zone of sacrificing too much of what we know that God has given us. But I think that in setting these super intense limits on ourselves, I wonder if we are limiting some of the joy and spiritual stretching that could come from dreaming with God, even if it requires a little sacrifice. So for me, in order to work toward my dream of writing and speaking truth to people who need it, we've sacrificed some money so I could start taking some online writing and speaking courses, because I don't have much time to do much else right now, but I do have time to listen to a course on my AirPods as I rock the baby to sleep. So that's one of the things that I've been doing. I've sacrificed a perfectly clean house in order to make time for this. Like, you guys don't even want to see my bathrooms right now. It's like really bad. I've sacrificed many slow mornings with my family so I can stay upstairs and write while my husband takes care of the kids downstairs. Like I said, my baby's usually crying for me, but I'm trusting that she's okay with him. And I've even sacrificed some evenings of uninterrupted time with my husband. It's a rare time when we get evenings together, but we've set aside that time for the cultivation of both of our dreams. But here's the thing, like, I haven't just left my family out to dry. The sacrifice has been really intentional and really protective. And actually, the sacrifice has yielded its own fruit, because now the girls get special time with their dad on Sunday mornings when the baby's not crying. She likes it a lot of the times. But my big girl really likes that special time with dad on Sunday mornings, because they rarely ever get alone time with him since he's working full time. And Josiah and I get to see each other light up as we're both pursuing our passions in the evenings together. A lot of times he'll play guitar. He just started playing guitar in the worship band at our church in Colorado, and so he's been doing that, and then I've been writing and doing this a lot of the time. And on the flip side, I've also sacrificed a lot of my focus that I could have put toward writing and speaking to be a mom to my kids, because that's my dream too. So there's been sacrifice all around. It's kind of this give and take. For you, is there anything in your life, even good things, that you can dial back or reschedule or put on pause for now even to breathe a little life to a new dream and give it some room to grow? So maybe the answer in this season is stepping down as a Bible study leader for this round of groups. You can always go back and do it next year, but maybe step down this time and focus your time on something else. Maybe it's sacrificing going out to dinner for a couple months so you can invest in an online course to learn how to do something that you want to do. Maybe the answer is sacrificing some of your singular focus in favor of multitasking. So can you bring your kids along in a hobby and make it part of playtime so you're kind of doing two things at once? Because there is a way through slow cultivation and thoughtfulness and prayer to make intentional sacrifices to cultivate our dreams that actually doesn't come as a detriment to everything else in our lives. It's not an either or. It's kind of like a dance. And most days it's hard and it's stretching and it's even discouraging sometimes. And I sometimes even question, like, gosh, am I doing anything right now? But on those days, I bring the discouragement to God, and I'm just really honest about it. And I say, God, Like, is there anything in my life that I'm focusing on too much right now? Is there anything that I'm giving too much of my time and energy to? Am I giving too much time and my energy to my dreams outside my kids? Am I kind of leaving them out to dry to focus on this? Or am I focusing on my kids so much that I'm actually not making time for these other things? So that's what you can do. Like, it's kind of a learning process. You can ask God to search you and know you and trust that he will reveal to you anything that's getting you off track. So you don't have to be worried that you're sacrificing too much, because you can bring it before him every day, every week, just a regular cadence, and say, am I sacrificing too much over here right now? Am I sacrificing too much over here? I think I'm sensing I'm sacrificing a little too much, and my kids are feeling burdened by that. So how can I switch up my schedule and kind of switch things? So it's kind of this dance. You're just learning as you go and pivoting as you go. And when you trust God to reveal things that get you off track, you can actually keep moving forward as you rely on him. You rely on him and you say, I'm trusting you to point out anything in my life that doesn't seem right now. And we can actually just move forward in confidence that he will reveal it if he needs to reveal it. We don't need to move forward in fear that we're doing everything wrong. Okay, can't believe we're already almost at the end here. We've only got a few minutes left, so I just want to give you one final thought to leave you with. So as you start talking with God about cultivating your dreams in your heart, as you start taking baby steps to surrender and simplify and sacrifice, you can remember this. You are not the only one. You are just part of the beautiful tapestry of dreamers God has created. This is the point of his church, that we would work together with God and one another to restore and renew the whole world with God. So don't forget that you can and you really should do this together. We should be doing this together. So here's what that might look like practically. Maybe right after this session, send a quick text to a friend and say, I've been really wanting to do this thing for a long time and I haven't been brave enough. Could you hold me accountable to taking one step toward that this week? Or even if you can't think of a step to take, ask them, what do you think is the step I could take toward that this week? And please, can you hold me accountable to taking that step this week? Or maybe that means if you've already been successful in a dream that you've cultivated, maybe mentoring a younger woman who wants to do what you do. Find somebody who wants to do what you do and train them in it. Maybe that means teaming up with a few friends and creating kind of like a cool mastermind group. Work on one collaborative dream together or your own separate dreams. Just get together regularly to encourage one another and spur each other on and give each other advice. It might mean noticing the people around you who don't have as much privilege as you. Maybe they're lacking finances or time or social or professional connections, and you actually have something that you can offer them to help them cultivate their dreams. So think about both, how other people can pour into your dreams and how you can pour into other women's dreams at the same time. So as you cultivate your dreams, just don't forget that we have the beautiful gift of each other. Like, we actually get to do this together. And that's really important, that we work together. This is the point of the church. Speaking of doing this together, I just want to say, since I didn't say this at the beginning, thank you so much to Summer and to the chapel for having me, and all of you for signing up for this breakout session, because I've hopefully encouraged you a little bit to go after some of the dreams in your heart, but actually you being here is helping me cultivate one of mine that I've had since I was a little girl, since I wrote on that note card that I wanted to share kingdom truth with people. And so thank you. That actually means so much that you're here. Thank you. I'm wondering real quick, since you saw I like to document my journey of dreaming with God, can I take a selfie of all of us so I can remember God's goodness? This one will be a lot more glamorous than those other pictures, so that's really exciting. I'm trying to get open on my iPad to take a picture, but I'm a zillennial, so I'm really bad at stuff. Okay, everybody. Smile. Nice. Okay, we are going to go into a time, we've got about 5 minutes left. We're going to go into a quick time of reflection to practice right now what we just talked about. So I really want you to take a few minutes to get really specific with God. You got a handout, hopefully on your way in. If you didn't, I bet you could raise your hand and people could get it to you. but it has some questions to help you reflect with God and kind of pray through things. Ask him specific questions and listen for anything that he might bring to mind. Feel free to journal on your piece of paper or in a journal, or just sit quietly and close your eyes and talk to God. But it's really important to just identify those few steps that you might be able to take this week or this month so that you can get going on cultivating your dreams. All right, let's go into our reflection time. Thank you, guys.
You can continue to work. I just wanted to give a little bit of direction here. First of all, thank you, Sarah. Really appreciate you. Yeah. If you signed up for a prayer session, those will be beginning during lunch, and you can head down to the basement to find the spot for that. If you haven't signed up for one and you still are interested, you can still sign up for an afternoon prayer session. Just go over by the cafe in the lobby for the sign-up table. And then if you are in lunch A, in about 5 minutes, you can just head into the lobby. Lunch will be there, and then you can take it outside and eat. There's a tent outside, or you can go in the lower level and eat lunch there. And then if you are in lunch B, you will remain here in the auditorium for the comedy session. I also just wanted to let you know on Sarah's handout, she isn't going to do this, but there is a QR code that would take you to her book. And I have read it, and I would say it would be an awesome thing to do in a group. Like if you are, she doesn't, this was so good because she gave you like the initial steps of getting started, but in her book, she literally takes you through the steps from start to finish in terms of like cultivating your dreams. And so it's just an excellent resource. So God bless you. Go ahead and stay here and continue, and then at noon, you can head to where you need to go.